I'm Melody Fawcett, and I am recording with my dear friend Allan, who is also a colleague.
And I'm Allan Komarek. I am 69 years old. I am at home in Hawthorne, California.
You got the Providence Nurse Leadership Award for 2020. So I wanted to start by reading an excerpt from the nomination, okay? Allan values the contributions of others and is inclusive in his approach. He speaks with kindness and encourages diverse opinions, listening to find the best answer to concerns and working towards solutions that will benefit the whole. Most recently, Allan has been supporting the DEI work in our ministry and has valuable insights to offer that will help ease the way for others who may be experiencing discrimination. Those are really lovely and true words.
I do really have a passion for people. I think what's driven me all along to make sure that all the voices are heard, not just my own. I also realize that just because I believe something doesn't mean it's true. And that's one of the things I have fought against for so long, is that so many people believe something and then automatically they think it's true. It's very damaging to everyone because it closes off the opportunity to hear other viewpoints, other perspectives. I've been a nurse now for 48 years. I have had quite a journey through all of that.
Do you want to tell about that?
I was started in Loma Linda University when I was 16, and when the director of education found out I was 16, she didn't want me taking care of patients, although I had had a course in high school on becoming a nursing assistant. So she put me in the central supply cleaning instruments. I didn't want to clean instruments. I wanted to help people. So I left there. I went to San Bernardino Community Hospital, talked to the director of nursing there, and she hired me. I just happened to turn 17 at that time. So, I loved working with patients. It was a 322-bed hospital, so I was responsible. Yeah, it was big. I was on the evening shift when I started, so I ran from ward to ward, helping people get out of their bed. Anyway, I loved it. I was then moved into the emergency room as a ER tech, worked in the ER while I worked my way through college to become an RN. So I went to school full-time and I worked full-time, and then worked in ER for about a year before being promoted to the charge nurse in coronary care. I worked there for about a year, and then I was promoted to relief shift supervisor. I worked as a relief shift supervisor for about 2 or 3 years until an opening came in Lindsay, California for a director of nurses. I interviewed for the position. I was given it. It was an incredible experience. I loved the long-term care because I love those patients. And the director of nursing for long-term care, Becky, was a lady with bright red hair. And she and I had both taken tap dance lessons at one time in our life. So we would put on shows, tap dance shows for the residents. It was just crazy. But we had such a good time. Whenever the state came in, they just would compliment us on how well taken care of the patients were, how the patients would just beam about all the stuff they got to do, because we didn't just stop at tap dancing. We did all sorts of crazy things with them. And I had the opportunity later to become chief operating officer of a hospital in San Jose. But going back to Lindsay District Hospital, we were purchased by a large corporation. The administrator was fired and a new administrator came in. I never made a secret of the fact that I was gay. Everybody knew it. Nobody seemed to say anything about it. It was pretty well accepted. Well, the new administrator and I worked together for about 6 months, and then he came to me and he said, Allan, you're the best director of nurses I've ever seen, but I don't like that you're gay, and I'm going to put somebody in the position that will work better for me. Back then, it was just what it was. So I left the job for 3 months, was kind of down and out, very depressed. It was really tough. Luckily, I had a partner at that time who really pushed me to not dwell in self-pity. And I got another job to go to work as the chief nursing officer for Delano Regional Medical Center. Well, I really hit it off with the CEO. And the hospital actually grew. It became known in California for some of the special things we did. We were the first hospital to have Medi-Cal subacute unit. We just did some really wonderful, humane kind of things. I made the commitment for us to become a patient-centered hospital, one of the original people to do patient-centered care and long-term care. So I had a chapter in a book published on patient-centered care and long-term care. I became the expert for the California Hospital Association on patient-centered care. I consulted for other units. It was just so much fun and such an amazing thing. Patients, families loved it. The staff loved it. And part of that is letting staff make decisions about how they're going to handle things. So then that administrator retired, and the board of directors was made up of 5 people led by a physician on staff. The administrator had told me that I was his choice to replace him, but they had to do other interviews. Well, all of a sudden, the administrator started acting really funny toward me. I finally asked him, why are you acting this way? And he said, it's because the chairman of the board didn't like gay people. So here we are again.
God.
And I wasn't going to get the job because of my lifestyle. So I had to deal with that all over again.
Oh, Allan, I'm sorry.
I was in the job for 8 years. The hospital had become a beacon for other hospitals. We had other hospitals visiting us almost on a weekly basis to see how we did things. We were the standard, but that didn't matter. The physician who led the board of directors didn't want the face of Delano being a gay person.
This is still at a time when there really wasn't any support for that, right?
There's no protections at all. That was like 94. So I left there and I became the executive director of the Coaches Training Institute, totally non-healthcare related, personal professional coaching. I got the job because all through my career, actually not just worked full-time in the hospital, I also taught on the road. I worked for 2 different organizations that would send me out for a week at a time to teach nursing leadership seminars and also grief and mourning seminars and all sorts of different things. I had got my master's by that time and was kind of a recognized expert in those fields. So because of my experience, I got this job as the executive director of the Coaches Training Institute. It was a year that was really well spent. I really enjoyed it. We solved a lot of the problems that they had. Anyway, an opportunity came up. The administrator who I'd worked with at Delano had retired, but then he got a job as administrator of a hospital in San Luis Obispo. So he recruited me to come back as his chief nursing officer. So I did. Actually, about 6 months into that job, the new chairman of the board from Delano called me and asked me to come back as the administrator. And I said, nope, don't want to. I love where I am doing what I'm doing. And he just kept after me. And he kept raising the salary. And I kept saying, no. Finally, there was a point where it was just stupid of me not to say yes. So I left the job in San Luis Obispo. I'm back to Delano. I spent 7 years. We did some wonderful things. And one of the things that I had always said before was stop wasting our time on trying to get people to the insured to come here. Let's just focus on taking care of the people we have, and let's focus on doing a great job of it. Because we did that, all of a sudden we became a disproportionate share provider for both the state and Medicare. And all of a sudden, the state and Medicare were throwing millions of dollars at us. When I started, the reserves at that hospital were like $2 million. When I left 7 years later, our reserve was $20 million. It was a wonderful experience. Then the chairman of the board came to me and he said, is your human resource director gay? I said, yeah. He said, oh, I'm not sure I like that. He said, I know you're gay, but human resources? Oh, I'm not so sure. Anyway, he went around me and fired the human resource director.
Oh my God.
I think the human resource director stood up once too many times to him, and he was really good and he was really right in doing so, but that's what happened. And then the chairman of the board came to me and said, the new director of nurses you hired, is she black? And I said, yes. I said, that's an odd question. You interviewed her. He said, well, but, she's kind of light skinned, so I didn't know if she was black or not. I said, well, what does it matter? She's doing a great job. And he said, no, I've had some complaints because she's holding people accountable. I said, what? Well, of course she's holding people accountable. That's what she's supposed to do. Anyway, we argued back and forth. And he came to me and he said, yeah, I think I want her fired because she's causing too many ripples. I said, no, I won't do it. He said, I'll fire you if you don't do it. I said, fine, fire me. And he did. So those are my DE&I stories.
Yeah.
I know how much it hurts to not be accepted for who you are as a human being. And I lost everything because of it. I was making a very good salary. I owned my own airplane, and I was kind of blacklisted after I left there. He got the word out not to hire me. had to declare bankruptcy.
Oh.
It was a really horrible, horrible time in my life. But you know what? I made the right decision. And as bad as it was, I wouldn't change it. I'd do the same thing again because I can't do that to people. I have to believe in something and I have to stand up for those beliefs. Otherwise, who am I as a human being? So I spent a miserable year CEO of a children's hospital in Orange, California. So became the CEO of Healthbridge Children's Rehabilitation Hospital. Along the way, even though I work full-time jobs, I do other things too because it interests me. So I helped a friend in 1998 start her own home care and hospice. And I became the Western Regional Director for hospice. Anyway, that led me finally to Providence. And when Jeff opened the position for Director of Clinical Excellence, I jumped at it because I didn't have to travel anymore. It was the opportunity to really get back to something more grounded. I read Providence's mission, vision, and values. They completely resonated with me. And in my interview, I checked with Jeff. I said, look, I'm gay. This is a Catholic organization. If that's a problem, tell me now. And he said, are you kidding? He said, we're very accepting. There's nothing you have to worry about. Everybody here is very loving and very accepting. And it's true, they were. I was accepted with open arms. I never had to hide who I was. It's not anything to do with my job. My job is my job. It really worked out well with me. It's a marriage made in heaven. I absolutely love Providence.
What would you say to somebody who would ask you for advice on, I'm thinking about becoming a nurse?
The first thing I would say is look inside yourself and ask yourself why you want to become a nurse. If it's just, I love helping people, that's nice, but what does it mean? What can you give to people that will make their lives better or your coworkers' lives better? It's not just about, I want to help people. It's how you want to help people.
I think we've gone from patient-centered care to patient and family-centered care, and it's right in line with what you're saying. It's not just learning the tasks. It's listening and being transformational instead of transactional.
It's servant leadership. And
yes,
that's what really has been my focus for as long as I can remember.
It has been wonderful hearing your story. You're just an amazing person, and I'm so honored and delighted to work as closely with you as I do. Thank you so much for sitting and recording with me today.
Thank you.